Can't rule it out, though. Hey, everybody. We'll be starting the show very shortly here. We're doing a special episode today. We're doing Ask the Love Engineer. So if you have any questions about any difficulties you're having in your relationship, or lack of relationship, looking for some insights, want to know, what is she thinking? Tonight would be a good night for you to get some answers to that, because we had a last minute cancellation due to an emergency on the guest part. So we thought, we're here, let's go live and ask the Love Engineer. So open Q&A. If you comment below the video on the YouTube channel or the desserts and, darn it, what is it again, Alex? Dessert discussion. Put your questions there. We'll put them up on screen. So you should know that. They're going to be on screen. All right, I'm just going to check YouTube, and we're good to go.
Welcome to I Declare Love, the podcast that aims to end the battle of the sexes so that smart, ambitious women and the men who love them learn how to love, be loved, and build amazing relationships. Your host, Alex Merritt, the Love Engineer, is a mechanical engineer by degree and is on a mission to bring logic to love. Enjoy the episode.
Hey there. Welcome to the I Declare Love podcast. You know what? And if you're on YouTube, make sure that you do like, subscribe, share, do all the things so that you are notified of this. So let's get into it. One, if you haven't known, so we are doing this a little differently. Had a whole show planned, but at the last minute had some guests that had to switch plans, and we'll bring them on for a future one. But figured. Here we are. By the way, it is National Night Out. So hopefully you're getting a chance to enjoy this, maybe watching this with your neighbors or what have you. But nevertheless, go say hi to somebody that you don't already know. But I figured we just get into it. Like I said, I'm the Love Engineer, so excited to bring logic to love. And as I think about my day and how it's unfolded, I just got to shout out Target. Target is going to sponsor this in the future. They don't know it yet, but here we are. But I had an amazing day. And it started out actually with Target, which, like I said, if I needed another reason to love Target, and I don't, but I got another one today. When I think about, just what they do and what they're doing in the community, that's one thing. But as the Love Engineer, everywhere I go, I am thinking about relationships, and today was no different. One of the guests that they had at this event was on the stage, amazing brother, like amazing. And I could tell, it was out into data and is an engineer as well. So, my heart went out to him, but made a reference a couple times about how, he was traveling, he is away from his wife, and he's probably going to be in trouble when he gets home. And the reason I'm bringing this up since we're here, because it may help several people as you're listening, because here's one of the things to know as the Love Engineer, some people use the time they've been in the marriage or in a relationship as a medal, like something you hang on the mantle and be proud of it. But yet you can only coast one direction. I say it all the time, which is downhill. And so I'm watching this gentleman who has thousands of us captivated in his data and his analytics. But what he's concerned about on the stage is, what his wife is mad about. And he wasn't really sure, and then which funny, the host of that panel or the host of that discussion and even the audience start throwing out things. It was like, hey, go to Target, get her a gift. Hey, stop by the Louis Vuitton store, get her a purse. All these things. And he's like, okay, I may have to try that. I walked up and was like, hey, I'm the love engineer, so today might be your lucky day, or is your lucky day. Not even might be, it is. Here's the thing. Like I said, he was, running because he needed to, keep moving forward because, he's there for this big corporate deal. The reality is that if somebody is upset, particularly your partner, do know and understand that it is rarely because they didn't get bought something. And the notion that the answer to it is that you buy something and that's how you're going to move past this is a miss. But it happens all the time. And it's a common thought, right? Where it's like, oh, I'm just going to buy you something. As expensive as it may be, Louis Vuitton, diamonds, it doesn't really matter. It's because that works for a while until it doesn't work. Oftentimes people want to be heard. They want to be valued. They want to be understood, even if you don't agree. And so when it comes to communication, like I said, that the gentleman that was on the stage may never hear or see this, but you will know that understanding your partner's love language is really, really key. Because I walked him and I asked him, I was like, is her love language gifts? Because if it is, then maybe a Louis Vuitton bag gets it, but I doubt it. Because at this stage, and the fact that he was a CEO, that means she probably got all the Louis bags she wants to have at this point. So understanding your partner's love language, understanding what it is they desire, but more than that, when it comes to communication in a relationship, understand what is the problem, not what is the stated problem. Because usually the obviously stated is like, oh my God, you didn't do the dishes. The dishes are never the problem. Double click into that and uncover what's the challenge behind that. So anyway, so we got off hot and heavy, like I said, but that was on my mind because, like I said, today I started off at a panel. I'm sure I was getting they didn't bring me there as the love engineer, but as I'm sitting in the audience, that's just how I was looking at what was unfolding. So I pray that his whole trip back home and his connection with his wife is really, really solid. But I want you to know that it doesn't go away with time because he's 26 years into it and is sitting in a room full of people, like I said, and he mentioned it several times in jest, but the truth is often spoken in jest. So that's that. But on today's episode, wanted to just be able to share some responses or some thoughts of some perspectives you may have or some dating questions or thoughts there. And we got Gabe here as well on the production side who was like, I got questions.
Oh, I got questions right off the gate for that, what you just said there. What do you think about women, because I'm just going to say it's women because I've never heard a man say this, but having gifts as their love language. Is that truly valid to you?
Absolutely. So one of the 5 love languages, and there are 5, so it's Dr. Chapman's work, but one of the actual love languages is gifts, not a joke. So it's gifts, acts of service, words of affirmation, quality time, and physical touch. Those are the 5.
Well, I think 4 of those are totally valid. But I just think there's something about a woman saying, you know what, how I feel love is buying me things.
Yeah, and so understand that part, which is what many people do, is they discount it because it's not the way you feel loved. You can't discount the reality that other people do feel loved when they get gifts. And the one misunderstanding often about the love language of gifts is that it has something to do with price. It does not. It has to do with thought often for those who are give. These are the people that if you go on a trip, they want you to bring them something back. And they don't care what, they want to know that they were thought about. And I remember, and it's funny, I remember being in college and I'm like I said, and I didn't even realize that it's like my number 3 love language at this point, but nevertheless, but I remember my college roommate was a guy, and he had gone to Disney, of all, like I said, and I remember it because I remember how I felt when it happened. So he had gone to Disney, like I said, we were not in a relationship. We did not have no conversations, no anything about him, bringing me anything back. So anyway, he comes back and was like, oh, I brought you this picture frame. It is one of my most prized possessions to this day. And we're talking about decades ago, right? So it's about how it makes you feel. But I say all that to say, again, don't discount the idea that gifts are a love language, and they are. And if it's somebody's love language and you don't buy them gifts, they will not feel loved by you.
Is it a red flag? So, we were going to talk about dating after divorce.
Yeah.
Is it a red flag then in your mind to see in their dating profile to say, just basically they like gifts, like first date, I like really nice restaurants and gifts?
No, you're clear on who you're dealing with. Actually, that's a
Okay.
gift. It's a gift if somebody gives you that, because then you get a choice to opt in and opt out. And it's like, if I don't like buying people stuff, and I don't go to restaurants, it's a deal breaker. So it's like, let's not, it's like, don't sign up for this class.
No, hey, that's for sure. I don't sign up for it. But I guess, in my mind, it's like, I love buying gifts when they're not asking for it. You know what I mean? But there's something about it that always feels a little like transactional, but maybe that's my bias.
It is your bias,
Yep.
and we all have them because it's not the way we like to receive love. Understand that the way people like to receive love and the way people give love are usually the same.
Yeah.
But that doesn't change. It's kind of the idea of, literally as a love language, right? It's like, English is my native language. And that's how I see love language. It's like, no, English is the language I speak, and so I don't have a problem communicating with somebody who speaks English. But I travel the world too, and I can't, matter of fact, I'm on my way out of the country soon. We'll be doing an I Declare Love podcast from Europe soon. But, I'm excited to go to Paris here soon. But I don't understand the French language beyond bonjour, right? And so communicating with somebody in French, there's nothing wrong with their language. It's just that when I have to navigate that conversation, it's a non-starter for me.
Yeah.
And that's the same way with some of the love languages where it's like, oh, I don't know. But just like real languages, you can learn them. Love languages, you could too. So. Yeah.
Well, I think that you hit on something too with the whole like his joking on stage too. So this is coming from a comedian, and looking back, one of the biggest toxic mistakes that I made from my end was leaning into that kind of thing, because hey, you've been married 10 years and she's a ball and chain kind of thing, like, and just falling into that. Like, I realized how it is a trope you fall into, like even in your conversations, you just start going to it kind of like thoughtlessly, and it's terrible momentum.
And you're creating, and that's the thing is realizing that there is so much power in your words, and people think it's a joke, but the universe, the divine, however you decide to call it, does not understand jokes or jest.
Right.
It sees it as direction, no matter what it is.
Yeah.
And so if you provide that type of direction, like, oh my God, she is a pain in the neck, be expecting pains in your neck. Be expecting those, because that's what you're communicating to your body, to your, oh my God, she's a ball and chain. It's like, yep, this relationship will quickly feel like a weight on you. No matter what she does, it can't feel differently, because the other thing that happens with the mind that people don't realize, like I said, words are commands to your life. Like whatever you speak, whatever you constantly think, look at your life, and it likely reflects that to you, right? And relationships are so serious like that too, where you're like, oh, I spoke that into existence. I created that. Hence the reason a person can leave one relationship, go to another one, and that person has a different relationship with the same person, because the energy in it is a little different. So mind your words. That's really what it comes down to, is just make sure you mind what you say, and only speak those experiences you desire to have, especially when it comes to your relationships. Because if not, then like I said, you will have what you say. The question is, do I desire what I'm actually saying? That becomes the real thing. And so which reminds me, I just saw something like LaToya Luckett, and let me be clear as I state these words, I don't watch the show that I believe they're on, but she just got married. It's her third marriage, and her second husband put up a put up a deal was like, this is our third one in 7 years. It's like, yeah, getting married, and I say it all the time, and this is one again where I again, watching my words, is like, getting married is an easy thing to do. Having a great marriage is also an easy thing to do. That's my new language that's being unfolded. But yeah, you can get married. You can get me, like saying, people do it every day, all day, actually. So
How is having a great marriage easy?
one is believing that it is easy,
Okay.
and then it starts to unfold like that. But then two, it is being open
Yes.
to the idea that it can be easy. I think marriage and relationships are so hard. One, because that is what we say about them
Yeah.
all the time. Like, it's to your point, the trope. So the energy, like, we're pounding a message to people that marriage is hard, relationships are hard, you can't be happy, and then they create that. But you could actually also say marriage is easy, marriage is fun, marriage is exciting, marriage is fulfilling, marriage is where I grow the most.
Yeah.
That's equally true about the same scenarios.
It is for sure.
And it's just what you position. And if you decide marriage is easy and it's beautiful and it's the place I grow the most, because I really do. I believe relationships are places you go to grow and give. That, if you can consider that all, like, you literally grow the most in relationships with other people, be they intimate or otherwise, because it lets you become the best version of you. And that's really the point of all of our relationships, is to literally help you become the very best version of yourself on this earth.
Yeah, that was a fail for me last time, but
And that's
like,
okay.
honestly,
Sometimes we try something the first time, we don't get it right. We begin again more intelligently.
Truly, no, I think one of the biggest misconceptions or whatever that I've heard as someone who's recently divorced and now like getting out there dating, you get things with the women like, oh, like he has children, I don't want to deal with that kind of thing, or that he's been divorced, and it's kind of like, man, the version that you'd be getting with me is 100 times better than the first dude who didn't have kids and wasn't married.
Yeah, and that's exactly right. Like I said, so even when people divorce, to your point, is that, and I say this all the time, it's like, when it comes to love, when it comes to just life in general, like, lessons are always available. Learning is optional. Many people don't learn the lessons that life brings them, and so they keep getting new lessons, new teachers. No, they take that back. They don't even get new lessons. They get a new classroom and a different teacher. Same lesson.
Yes.
Same lessons. And so it becomes important to recognize, like, how did I grow from that? Even if the marriage or the relationship didn't work, asking yourself, what did I learn? And if you can point to something you learned, it was a win. It was success. If you cannot point to something you learned, and if it's only blame or only fault, you are setting yourself up to repeat that class with a different person.
Would you say the same thing for people who are like, this is something I see a lot, which is, my marriage is over, man. It's over. Blah, blah, blah. But this girl who who whatever, from my work or from my whatever, like, she's everything that I've ever wanted, kind of thing. And it's like, oh God, it's just a head and hands kind of thing. But I feel like that is the most common thing. And I don't know how to teach people how to check themselves on that.
And there's nothing to teach. It's like they will have to experience it, right? Because again, nothing teaches, right? In the sense of that, it's like experience is the way many people learn. But the notion that, oh, this person is the everything I ever wanted, no doubt, as usually was the first person.
Yeah.
At some point in time, right? And so
100%.
That's how that works. It's like, yes, they're the everything you want. That is exactly how you got married the first time.
Are you noticing a pattern developing?
and it's like, and they should be everything you want. The question is, how do I continue to see those qualities in them? Because the everything you don't want is also in that person still. The question is when do you see it? And when you do see it, what do you do with that?
Do you have any belief about, we're going to tilt this towards people like me. Divorced guys, whatever, mid-40s, you're out of your 10, 15-year marriage. Do you have any feeling as far as like, look, dude, you should be playing the field. Like, you should at least date 3 different women, 5 different. Like, you know what I mean? Just, I always think people go like, oh, what are the odds the next person you dated was the perfect person for you? That, you know, but maybe they are. You know, I don't know.
Yeah. What's the question?
Is like, I guess if you have feelings about the importance of quote unquote playing the field. After a divorce.
So
you know,
playing the field is the problem. So that terminology I don't like at all because that's what you get.
Not
you
great,
get playing, right? But if it's exploring what I desire, then yes. Because many people, especially, you know, if you're divorcing in your 40s, that means you usually got married in your 20s. Oftentimes, or maybe early 30s, where you hadn't defined yourself, or the person you married is a very small sample of people that you dated. And so you may or may not know what you desire and what you value and what's a great date to you for that matter. And so I do encourage and highly support actually that people date. Not with the goal of playing the field as much as it is to discover my desires.
Okay. Well, that's a lot nicer way to put it, but...
And one will get you one outcome and one will get you a different outcome.
Yeah. Poor choice of words on my part.
No, it's not even that it's poor. It's common. It's a common choice. So don't, like I said, not right or wrong. I tell people all the time, it's like, it's never right or wrong. It's just effective or more effective. Like, but that's all determined on what's the goal. If my goal is to date a bunch of people, then yes, play the field. If my goal is to prepare to be in my next marriage, be successful, more successful than the last one, then I do have to discover some desires.
Yeah.
Just depends on what you want. Like I said, so neither one of them is wrong. It's just what's the outcome you're going for, and is this going to help you get there?
What's the number one mistake you see in recently divorced type people who are dating, or that you hear from people? Anything like that?
Yeah, that's a good question. So I did an episode about dating after divorce, and one of the top ones is carrying the pain of the divorce forward. And almost like looking to legislate. So whenever, you know, I call it people, you know, who are formally married. Those who are formally married often, if not careful, recreate the pain from the past in the future, looking for the person in front of them to either confirm or deny their position about it. Like the fact that your marriage ended for whatever reason, or you chose to consciously uncouple, which is the new term that I actually like, that I'm hearing people use, whatever it was. Again, long as you get the lesson, you can move forward. You don't have to keep repeating that or bringing it up for the person in front of you.
But how do you win the divorce if you don't do that?
How do you what?
I'm joking.
Yeah.
Win the divorce. Like, that's what I see is people think they can win their divorce somehow.
Yeah, somehow, some way. And it's like, no, let that go. I think that's one of the big mistakes I see people who are from, or deciding that it can't be good again.
Oh, yeah.
Like, there is a sense of fear. And don't get me wrong, I am very, very clear about the fact that it's like when you've been hurt, the human body will work to protect you. So the mind is like, no, we're not doing that again. And at the same time, being closed off to love, like nobody's coming to kick down the walls you've created. At best, you get somebody who's willing to like yell on the outside of that wall for a little while.
Yeah.
And so being willing to open up. And then third and last would be not being honest about what they really want. Many people want to be married again, and yet there's a fear of admitting that. Or the flip is true. They don't want to be married again. And feel somehow that they're supposed to want to be. And they go forward with that, or they completely check themselves out of the relationship world.
Oh, yeah. I see the whole, like what I see a lot of, and I see this in guys and women, and I started to do it, which is, I'm just going to focus on my kids.
Yeah.
And I'm just gonna be about me and them for a while. And what I didn't realize personally is like, you're getting depressed, dude, because your world is just, there's no excitement. I mean, you love with your kids and all that stuff, but it's like you need more as a whole person.
It's
right?
different. It's literally like deciding that I'm going to just eat, name the food, whatever the food might be, and that's all I'm going to ever eat.
Yeah.
No matter
That's
how
how it feels.
good it is, after a while, it's boring. And children are like the worst to throw your everything into, because as they're growing and developing, you are not the center of their world ever. Ever.
Right.
And so it's this notion of like, oh my God, I'm doing everything for you. And so I tell people, it's like, don't make Life Project Kid. Like, do not. Marriages fail all the time because when Project Kid ends, then the couple has nothing else to do.
Yeah, and you're not demonstrating to your child a healthy relationship.
You're not
right?
modeling. Children being the center of the world is not a healthy deal, and society is paying for it now as one who hires people. I'm like, please stop making your child the center of the world, because the employers cannot.
I think that's interesting. I've never thought of that as, part of the whole like entitlement that we see with so many people. But yeah, makes total sense.
No, that's where that's funded from. Like, again, imagine growing up where your entire you were the center of people's world.
Yeah.
They jumped when you said jump. They asked you what you wanted. They didn't make you do anything you didn't want to do. Do that for 20 years. And then go work for somebody who's like, hey, I need you to be here at this time. I need you to do these things. I need you to do this. And you are expected to do it. It's a new concept for many young people, and it is not going to bode well for them in the employment space. It doesn't bode well for them now.
No, absolutely. I say we're the generation who all calls our kid, like I hear dads go, oh, buddy. They're just all like buddies with their kids, and it's like, hey, I get it. I'm that way at certain times, but it's like, you got to be dad
too. It is backfiring on society. It will backfire, and we got 18 to 20 years more of this. So I'm like, please course correct that as a love engineer who wants to help the world have better and amazing relationships. There are no relationships of other people, healthy ones. Let me say it differently. There are no healthy relationships that center another person as the sole version of what a life well lived looks like.
Ooh, so how about this? On that point, what is the analog in relationships? Like, what's the thing that we're doing wrong that you hear, or like a phraseology or like a belief in relationships that you believe is kind of backwards, like the putting kids at the center? Is there anything like that you're seeing in
general relationships?
Yeah, as of now.
Like I said, wrong isn't the term I would use. Like I don't. I usually don't subscribe to. I intentionally, because we live in a world which makes it really difficult. This right or wrong. It's like no. It all can be right depending on what your outcome is.
Yeah.
It really is just a function of fact. So taking the judgment off the table, like there's no judgment. Like everybody in this world is trying their very best to be their very best with the tools and resources they have. Some of them are poor. People fail at it on a regular basis. Limited resources. Mm-hmm. They fail. So to people like my parents are doing the best they can, and sometimes it's really poor.
You were born on a rocky island.
And, here we are. But to your point, this notion, and we're getting away from it. I'm excited about that. This notion of I got to find love, and that when I do, I'm going to be happy.
Oh, yeah.
This constant pursuit of happiness and this idea that love is the solution to that is one of the biggest fallacies, which is also how come so many people are disappointed in relationships. So you believe this whole time, if I just get somebody to love me, I'll be happy. Well, that person doesn't make you the center of their world because that's not normal. And even if they do, they can't sustain that long, right? So then you're disappointed when they inevitably do that. And you never learn how to make yourself happy. And I don't mean do a bunch of activities that are supposed to make you happy and then you're just buying time with. I literally mean truly getting to happily single, which is the precursor, I believe, to being happily married. Because while happily married and happily single are indeed two different marital statuses, they are the same state of mind.
Oh, I think that's pretty heavy to think of that. So basically, you can almost interview a woman or man and just say, hey, where are you happy when you're single?
Are you happy general? And if the answer is no, then, or my favorite question is like asking people, like, what brings you joy? What do you, literally, what do you enjoy? Mm-hmm. And it's like, oh, you don't have an answer to that. So what you're expecting your partner to do is to create things for you to explore and decide if you want. Now, granted, your partner will introduce you possibly to some new things, but your happiness, that is you, all you, only you. And if you can't make yourself happiness, I can promise you that nobody else can either, no matter what they do, which is the disappointing part about it. And that's the hard part. Many people are in relationships and they are like, he don't make me happy, she don't make me happy. And what they aren't saying is, I don't make me happy either.
Yeah. See, to me, that's what I was kind of searching for when I asked you that question. Like, I didn't know I was at the time, but now what I'm
thinking, like, the love engineer, here we are.
100%, man. It's like the whole thing, like, to me, we're in this era of like make me happy kind of thing.
Yeah, because people want to be clear. People want to feel good. People want to be loved. But the only reason we want anything is because of how we think it'll make us feel.
Yeah.
And we think that, if I get married, that's going to make me feel happy. It's going to make me feel special. It's going to make me feel chosen. It's going to make me feel. Then you get married and you still don't feel special. You still don't feel chosen. I mean, because you married a guy who don't like gifts.
Yeah. Now when you ask, baby. So
now all these things that you thought were going to naturally happen as a part of getting married does not. He doesn't like gifts. He thinks flowers are a waste of money because they are dying at point of purchase. He doesn't see the point in going out to eat when there's food at the house. It doesn't make sense for him to spend money on a housekeeper when you could clean. But you didn't realize that a part of your fantasy of marriage was, I'm going to have this partner. He's going to buy me flowers every week. He's going to buy me surprise gifts. He's going to do things to make my life easier. Like, we don't state that that's what we want. But that's what's behind the desire for many people. Like, and that's just an example off the top of my head as I'm sitting here. But my point being is that the desire we have for things is because of what we think we will feel when we get the thing. But the other person doesn't know the script that you have created for them.
Oh, very often the script is running full time and you have no idea.
Full time, and they have no idea that. And there is no catch up because it's like, I didn't even sign up to audition for this part.
Yeah.
So I'm not catching up because I did not sign up to be the source of your joy.
Stop reading my diary. That's just too close to home.
The love engineer. And the reason it feels close to home is because it's principles. Remember, I bring logic to love, and I have studied the principles empirically in my own love labs and the love labs of others. It's like, wait, that cause creates this effect. So, haven't been reading your diary, I promise.
All right. All right. I'll try to believe you.
But if it resonates with you, that's why, again, like I said, tuning in here to I Declare Love podcast is just that joy and being able to act. Because that's what I bring as an engineer that's different in this space, is that I bring the science. Whereas historically, when it comes to love and relationships, is just art, is art and fantasy.
Yes.
As if there's no solid way to know for sure something. And it's like, that's not true. There is very much so principles, formulas, and logic that goes to the ghost of love. So that's my joy behind it.
Do you think that sacrifice is missing from the equation for a lot of people now? Or just it kind of goes back to what we just said, I suppose, but I feel like that old-fashioned, like, living for your spouse to some degree seems to be gone. I don't hear people talk about that.
Gratefully so.
Yeah.
Yes. Because the idea of it, while effective for the time that it was being done on a high scale, it's just a different time. We're in a different time than they were in. And again, the notion of sacrifice, it's not a thing. It's the equivalent of making me happy. Now, there may be some things where I have to, in order for us to have a win-win, to borrow a really old principle here, right, from Covey, is that I may have to delay going to the mall or going to Target or wherever it is. And we consider like, oh my God, that's a sacrifice. You gave up your Target run for your partner. It's like, actually, I prioritized the time we were going to spend together. I prioritized being there to support him or whatever the case might be, right? But if sacrifice means I got to give up some aspect of who I am, the price of that relationship is too high.
Okay.
It's too high. And one should question, and we don't seem to have any problems questions like, if I have to become something else, like authenticity is all the rage, right? And work and things. If I have to become something else to love or be loved by you, I really should question whether or not I should be in that relationship.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, absolutely.
And so when you say sacrifice, if you mean this notion of I don't get what I desire or need because I'm giving you what you desire and need all the time.
I forget how literal you are as an engineer.
I am an engineer, so
No,
yeah.
I
So
know.
if you meant something differently, you do have to explain that differently because I am an engineer.
I'm just being loose with the term. I guess really what I meant is like putting the other person first, a little bit, not necessarily as sacrificing.
So considering another person's desires, considering another person first, for sure, for the relationship to be successful, you have to be able to be considerate of another person. Otherwise, you should consider staying single.
Right.
Like that. So that communication 101, for those of you that are listening, where like, see what happened there? He said something. I interpreted it as something and gave a whole answer based on what I thought it meant. And it was only in the circle back that we realized that what he meant by sacrifice and what I meant by sacrifice, different. This happens with men and women all the time.
That's why we have to mansplain.
No, that's why you have to ask a further question.
I know.
Because mansplaining never worked. Because realize that what they heard and what they meant was true.
Yeah.
What you heard and what you meant was also true. It's just realizing that what we heard and what was meant, we don't realize we're different.
Right. So another thing, I'm kind of sticking in my era. Well, I think this applies to everyone who's in a new relationship, right? You get especially if you're out of a relationship. You're fresh out of a relationship. You found the next person. Oh my God, what are the odds they're perfect? And
Zero.
Right.
Zero
like
are the
love.
odds that they're perfect. But go ahead.
And they're just in love, like and there are times even when I was at that point out of my relationship and seeing someone, there are times where it's like I know where I'm at. I know that I'm in this dopamine-rich environment where just everything is hitting me, but it's like it feels so good. It's hard to even click out of it. Do you have any advice or suggestions on the way to check yourself in those scenarios? Because I know someone right now who's in that scenario, and it's like, and they're about to make a mistake, and it's like you want to say something, but it's like it's not really my place. So yeah.
And they won't listen to you even if they did. Because, again, as you mentioned, this dopamine, serotonin, oxytocin, love is a chemical reaction in the body. And your body, because it does care about you, gives you that. You deserve to feel good. So don't click out of it or don't try to abort that. How do I say this again? Chemistry, right? Mm-hmm. If you do a chemical experiment, you put two things. there is a reaction that's going to happen, but over time, the reaction will die down naturally. It has to. There is no indefinite chemical reaction. And to believe that love is an indefinite chemical reaction is a setup for disappointment in general. Or I can enjoy it as it runs, right? But also realize that as this reaction is going forward, you can also still ensure, like, do we share values? Do we share, I call it the 4 gears of great relationship. What's the vision for this thing? How do we communicate? How do we deal with conflict? How am I growing? How are they growing? What is this relationship growing into? So you can have the reaction, but ensure that you also have some of the stabilizing elements as a part of that relationship too. The challenge becomes is when you are just riding off the high of the reaction of love. That's going to take its course no matter what you do. It's going to be good. And it's also going to dissipate on its own too. You got probably, weeks to 2 years before it wears off.
Oh, yeah.
But just know that make sure you got the foundational elements as a part of it as well. So don't abort the feeling. Just ensure you have reinforcements when it comes to the foundational elements of the relationship.
All right.
I know.
Fun.
I know.
No.
Don't abort. Like, I'm a big believer in love. And so it is National Night Out. People are having a great time. This has been super fun as an impromptu dialogue.
It was.
Maybe we got time for one more. Is there one more question that's out there?
Let's see. I think everyone's out. Everyone's out. Oh, here. Hang on. We got one. Oh, never mind. I don't know what this is, but she's lit. Oh, it's a compliment. Susan
Yes,
Kendrick.
she's lit. Yes. She is lit. So that's Lover in Training. So that's give you a pre-look. So they're coming up because we're all looking to learn to love. That's really what this comes down to, is that nobody taught us how to do great relationships. Nobody taught us how to love. And inside of Lover in Training, it is a place where you get to learn how to love. You get to practice in the love lab that we create together and become better at relationships, because the truth of the matter is that we all require relationships. Like, everybody's in some type of relationship, even if it's just the one you have with yourself, which for unfortunately far too many people is toxic at this point. But inside of Lover in Training, so LIT, which happens to spell lit, how cool is that? Inside of Lover in Training, you'll get an opportunity to learn to love, to learn to have great relationships. And so we're going to do lit singles and lit couples. That's coming up here very soon. I don't know if I should have said that out loud, but it is coming. So hence the she's lit.
How do people find that if they want to participate in that?
So actually, if you just follow me again at Instagram at Alex the Love Engineer, here, just stay in touch, or reach out to BeTheOneLove.com. Reach out there, send a message there, get on that mailing list, and you'll be on my mailing list. So that's also coming up. So BeTheOneLove.com. BeThe1Love.com. And we'll get started, because love is the answer to every problem this world has right now. It's my fundamental belief there, and equipping more people with tools and skills. And this is not, like I said, this doesn't get you to perfect. This doesn't get you to no problems. But as an engineer, like I said, the problems don't bother me or any of us, because we know we got the tools and skills to solve them. So it doesn't matter what comes up. I am without question certain that I can solve the problem. It may take me a little while, may have to do some work, but I know I can. And I want people to have that same confidence when it comes to love and relationships. Yes, you may have an argument, but if you had the communication tools and skills, it wouldn't bother you. Yeah, we might want different things at different times, but if I had the tools and relationship tools and skills, then I can get through it. But if you don't, then your options are to retreat or endure, and that doesn't feel good. And our generation is set up where we don't have to stay. So I invite you to grow in love, and join me at BeTheOneLove.com.
Thanks for joining us.
Yeah, thanks so much for joining the episode. Stay tuned. Tell your friends. Share. Until next time.